worried about the future of what might be called Polish-Ukrainian relations and studies in the historiography that we will see in the next 10 or 15 years. And I am for two reasons. One, the field is declining here in North America. All pre-20th century history is declining. I am pleased to tell you that 9 students were roped into taking my early modern graduate colloquium here at Columbia, dealing with both Poland and Ukraine, so that at least at that level we will exist. But if you look around North America at the moment, there are relatively few people who have positions in the field. And why is that so important? Because it's very important to have people outside of those countries, whatever their origin is, working on these topics, and I think they are frequently creative. And then on the other hand, for the reasons I will discuss as this talk develops, I think the 10 years or 15 years we have now had of relatively free exchange between Ukrainian and Polish scholars, although producing some very fruitful initiatives, has not been as productive as one might have hoped, and I'd like to outline why that's been true. First of all, I'm going to deal only with history. Most people don't really want to come to find out about the 16th and 17th century. They want to know about its impact. So I will do this by telling you about how have the historiographies developed and how have their visions changed of late. And I would start that by saying that sometime between 1890 and around 1925 to 29, in many ways, Ukrainians, in a scholarly sense, caught up with Poles. They didn't equal the volume of Polish scholarship, and I don't say in all levels they developed in all the fields, but Ukrainian historical research, which was much behind Polish studies in 1890, was its equal for discussion by the 1920s. And that great scholarly effort meant that there were 2 historiographies of 2 national movements, 2 groups, and later a Polish state, that were sometimes in discussion, frequently, I fear, not in discussion, as they ignored each other's works or derided each other's works at times, but there were at least 2 partners for some discussion. Then in the late 1920s and through the 30s, the Ukrainian tradition is cut off and destroyed. It is destroyed fully in Soviet Ukraine, or almost fully in Soviet Ukraine, and it declines very much in Western Ukraine. The great scholar of this period, Professor Krypiakevich, never had a university position in interwar Poland, which is a sign of where Ukrainians were in the discussion with Polish scholars. So that the Ukrainian tradition then is not anywhere near equal to the Polish historical developments by the late 1930s. After World War II, the fates, of course, are very different of those who are writing on the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth and on Ukrainian and Polish history of this period. After a relatively short time of enforced Stalinism, destruction of some Polish scholarly institutions, Polish historical studies, above all of this period, revived, and revived rapidly in the late 1950s. In certain ways, I would argue, enforced Marxism was in certain ways even positive for this. It opened up new topics to Polish historiography of this period, and we have someone from Poznan introducing us, but we can think of Topolsky and the development of economic history in Poznan as being Marxist influenced. But above all, Polish historiography developed because it was closely related to the most creative centers of Western historiography, above all to the Annales School, to French historians. They follow the topics very closely of what's going on. They go into new topics, and we have a generation of giants in this field. Professor Monchak, recently deceased, who came indeed from Lviv or Lvov, is an example of someone who was a historian of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, but was an internationally recognized scholar for the study of topics of patrons and clients, of many social history topics. And that could happen in that Polish historiography of that period. So it is a period that is remarkably productive, and I fear coming to the end because fewer and fewer students are going into history in Poland of the caliber who went there in that period, and because people now can work on the 20th century if they would like in a way they couldn't have worked on it in the 1960s and 70s and 80s.